It is spooky season, everyone. Welcome to Sam Houston Sports Talk. I am Colin Neal here to get you ready for Friday night's matchup between the Sam Houston Bearkats and the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. Phil Longo and the Cats are still searching for that first win of 2025. Could they pull off some spooky shenanigans on Halloween night in Ruston, Louisiana, and escape with that first win? Or will they be continuing that search? Well, we'll hear from head coach Phil Longo and La Tech head honcho Sonny Cumbie, and much more comes your way on Pod 72 that starts right now.
Bearcats on three, one, two, three! Bearcats!
Two things, God and the cat.
And we welcome you in here on Sam Houston Sports Talk Pod 72. I am Colin Neal. Luke Scott won't be able to join me for this one because he's lazy, aka has a real job. But that's not going to stop me from getting y'all ready for this Friday night's matchup, which is quite it's quite an interesting one to say the least. But we'll get more into that as we go along here on this pod. But if you haven't already, be sure you follow us today, like and subscribe. If you haven't already, subscribe to our new Substack with some written content that's going to be coming your way a lot more often. I started that Substack back in May, but now I'm picking it up, and I really want to get some more content for y'all out there to get y'all more informed what's going on around Sam Houston athletics. And follow us on all of our socials, of course. Links are in the description as well. It's an interesting matchup coming this Friday night. Sam Houston going to Ruston, Louisiana to take on the Bulldogs of Louisiana Tech. And let's go ahead and get started by hearing from head coach Phil Longo. If you haven't heard his opening statement, well, here it is right now from his press conference on Tuesday.
So this is our third bye week, and it has been a long one. It is 15 or 16 days long, so we're pros at it. We've been through two already. I've never been through a season with three bye weeks, so this one was a little different. It was a challenge, and it's long. So we are coming off of a get better week for us. That's typically not the approach I take during a bye week. You know, we usually get right into the opponent. This week we did. We took a step back. We evaluated a lot of things in the program, different situations on both sides of the ball. We addressed a lot of that. We worked a lot on situational football last week. We looked at a lot of our foundational stuff on OD and special teams, and tried to shore up some of that, improve some technique, and clean up some things. And then we jumped into La Tech towards the end of the week and just finished up our second practice this week heading into Friday night's game. So I like where we are right now. We had some an edge in practice today, which was nice to see, and that's a good sign. We got people flying around, and we were physical, and I thought we played fast today, and we got after it a little bit. So good signs, and we're going to have a polished day tomorrow, and then we got to gear up for this trip to Louisiana.
So if you have already heard that, I apologize, but wanted to go ahead and set the scene a little bit for y'all real quick because the Bearcats, like you just heard from the man himself, Longo, they're coming off of their third bye week of the season. I'm also going to play this one more time in just a little bit about how they're lucky to have the bye, but I just kind of wanted to go ahead and kind of break down exactly what he was talking about there. Just kind of, it's very simple, really. Like, you normally don't want to have a get better week, really, or a get right week. I mean, they're both kind of the same thing in a way in the middle of the season, but in the season like this, where you're 0-7, you're still searching for answers. Well, you probably already have answers in some ways. I'll get more into that in a little bit of what I mean, especially on the offensive side of things. But situational football, they worked on that quite a lot, and that is, I mean, it's cliche. Yeah, you're supposed to be working on it all the time, but sometimes it's as simple as going back to the basics. And heck, who knows? I mean, according to the odds makers, the bookies, you're not really expected to make this game close. Well, personally, I think they can make this game close, but especially much closer than a 17-point spread. But we'll get into that later. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but it's good that they took 1 week to themselves to focus on themselves, like Like, we're gonna have a whole week to get ready for La Tech, and I'm kind of glad they didn't spend 2 weeks on La Tech as a whole. I'm glad they took a week, they took some time off to reflect upon themselves, especially with a lot of the outside noise. And by the way, we talked a little bit about that outside noise in the previous pod. Just basically catch up on everything. Go ahead and check that out. We also got you ready for soccer going to Lynchburg, Virginia, to the Conference USA tournament. So go ahead and check that out if you haven't already. But back to what I was saying, I'm just glad overall that they took some time. They took that week off to reflect on themselves and whatsoever to get ready, and especially having that bye week because Hunter Watson left that game against UTEP with a concussion, and we all saw how the offense completely spiraled out of control on that because they had such a good half. That was probably their best first half of football that they had all year long, and just got stalwarted by Hunter Watson going down with that concussion just before halftime. When you go and when you're as a team go into that locker room, and that's sometimes all you're really thinking about in that moment is like, man, our starting quarterback just went down, and you're sitting in that locker room for like the whatever 15, 20 minutes, and that just gets in your head. And I mean, they did the best they could, but it's just unfortunately when you lose your starting quarterback in the middle of the game, it is really hard to adjust to it, and it is what it is. And yeah, but hey, guess what? Head coach for Longo says that Hunter Watson is cleared and he is ready to go. He talked a little bit about how they're lucky to have this bye week right now.
It has been a challenge, the 3 bye weeks, and this one came at a good time because it gave some of our guys that are injured, including Hunter, an opportunity to heal and get through protocol and get back out on the field and have a good amount of practices in preparation for the game. But he has systematically gotten better every week. I think we've seen that the most the last 3 weeks. And he was near perfect decision-making wise in the first half of our last game. And so that bodes well for us. It bodes well for the offense, and I'd love to see that continue, against La Tech.
Yeah, and he's not wrong. I mean, even analytically in the eye test, even shows that the offense has gotten significantly better. And I think something else has changed for this team. I was talking to a colleague of mine about this, and as I was researching for this pod, I actually found this out. I thought that was quite interesting. So I'm gonna give. So I know this isn't exactly good for audio form, but I didn't really have time to put together something for a graphic or whatever. I probably did have time, I'm just probably too lazy, but I'm gonna give y'all a rundown real quick of the game so far. I'm gonna tell you all the snaps, and I'm gonna give you the percent the pass to run ratio. Okay. So week 0, bear with me, week 0, 64 snaps, 66% were pass plays, so 34% were run plays. As a matter of fact, I'm actually gonna make it easier on y'all because it's easier if I just do it like this. So week 0, 66% were passing plays. Week 1, 78 snaps. This is offensive snaps. 69% of those snaps were pass plays. Week 2, 63 snaps. 71% were pass plays. Week 4, 51 snaps. 73% were pass plays. Week 6, 66 snaps. 71% were pass plays. And that was after New Mexico State. Now you're going to see a little bit of a shift here, folks. Just bear with me. Week 7, 55 snaps. This is UTEP. 56% were passes. Week 8, 79 snaps. 58% were pass plays. And you saw in those 2 games, which were Jack State, UTEP, that the offense was moving down the field much better and things were starting to click a little bit more. Why? Because Longo's now not being as aggressive, because again, the idea of Longo's air raid, it's not a full-on air raid, it's dairy raid. In the future, in the past rather, typically in character, he wants to run the football quite a lot more than a typical air raid guy would. It's just that for some reason he went away. He went away from that kind of idea for the first month and a half, first 2 months of the season, and now he's gotten back into it, and we've seen it over the past couple of weeks. So we could be seeing that, and especially now that you have Hunter Watson back, who can run the ball. You give more opportunities to Hunter. You give more opportunities to the running backs like Coco Brown and Alton McCaskill, and some other guys as well. And your receivers are stepping up. Hopefully they're healthy, and hopefully they're getting back on the right track on that end. Man, it's going to get going. but it all lies solely, in my opinion, in this game on the defense because I think it's going to be I think it's going to be potentially, if things go the way I hope they will, it could be a low scoring game. Probably not like last year. Like last year, I mean, last year's halftime score is 3-2, and I was at that game, and that ended up being a 7 to that being a 9-7 victory for the Bearcats, and um, yeah, that game was that game was something to say the least. But head coach Phil Longo was asked about the defense and he hopes to continue for them to improve, and he gave some key points in this one. Just listen to this.
So defensively, it's been a little bit different life this fall. I thought we started off the season doing some things really well. Saw some things that were promising. Tried to address the pass rush and some different things that we just ID'd. On the defensive side of the football to work on, like any offense or defense. But the only thing that I truthfully haven't been overly happy with lately is just our open field tackling. That's hurt us both on base downs and on during situational football. It's hurt us on third down, and that's an area of emphasis for the defensive staff and our defensive guys. It's something we've worked hard on the last couple weeks. And we know that that's an area that's a huge emphasis for us, and that's an area that we've got to perform better if we want to get off the field on third down and we want to perform on defense the way we expect to.
And the thing is like you have some guys stepping up like Dean Ford, that have been stepping up. Cecil Powell has also been stepping up. He's actually been doing pretty good. Iman Allen has been probably one of the more consistent guys on this defense. It's just we've seen it time and time again where the offense would go down and score, have a grid drive, and then the defense immediately gives up a score right afterwards. And it's just that you need to capitalize on that momentum a little bit. And the defense needs to help out the offense in that situation, like pay back the offense. Like, oh, okay, you went down and scored. Hey, we're going to go ahead and give you the ball back. Go ahead and try to score again. Probably go up 2 possessions. I just think, though, hopefully things are getting a little bit better. I'm not going to say that they're going to get all the way crazy better, but this defense is going to be key in this game against Louisiana Tech because that defense is really good. And head coach Phil Longo talked a little bit about the La Tech defense.
Well, they're first for a reason. I mean, you always say about any one player, you want a guy that's a total package guy, and they're really hard to find. A total package defense to me would be what you're looking at in the La Tech defense. They are, I think, very well coached. I think they're very well coached. You don't get a lot of people out of position there. They also know their system. They know how to fit the run game. They know how to adjust to motions and shifts and formations. They handle tempo well. They do all those things. It's obvious they got off to a good start when they installed everything and did everything, and they've got everybody in line there. So they're playing good football, and they do a good job against the run. They fit the run up really well. I think they're extremely talented on the back end. They've got 4 or 5 guys, individual guys that I would say we need to be aware of where they are. I wouldn't say they're all game changers, but they're all pretty good. I mean, they're exceptional at their position in that defense, and to me, that's a total package defense. They do a good job against the pass. They fit the run up well. They're great in pursuit. They tackle well in the open field. And so this will be one of the better defenses we've seen this year, and so we've tried to take advantage of the 2 weeks to prep for these guys.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Like, and listen, they lost the preseason Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year in Colby Fields, linebacker, really good, really really good for them, and they're one of the many playmakers they had. I mean, he's the guy that stood out. It's just unfortunate that he went down with the season-ending injury a few weeks ago. Just unfortunate for Louisiana Tech. But the thing is, guys, this La Tech defense is still really good. They're top 25 in scoring defense. They've given up only a little over 18 points per game. And that's why I said that this defense is going to be really key in this game. They're also led by head coach Sonny Cumbie, and Longo had some thoughts about Sonny Cumbie. We'll play this, and then we'll have some final thoughts on this segment for Sam Houston themselves going into this game. Then we'll scout the enemy, Louisiana Tech, in just a few moments. But here is head coach Phil Longo on Sonny Cumbie.
You know, I've known of Sonny from afar for a long time because he was at Texas Tech in a long line of great quarterbacks that played for my mentor, Mike Leach. So I was around every year the entire time that Coach Leach, Mike, was at Tech. And so I sat in a lot of those QB meetings. The only quarterback I never really got to know personally was Sonny. You know, and so we had good conversations at Conference USA meetings. Easy guy to talk to, very personable. We had a number of good conversations. To me, very likable guy, you know, and I respect what he did as a player, and I respect what he's done as a coach. It's intriguing for me to watch what he does offensively at La Tech, and so much like a lot of the coaches that we've faced this year, I've got a lot of respect for the program Sonny's running right now, and you know, a lot of that the positive comments I had about their defense, I would mirror that on the offensive side. You know, they're well coached. They know what they want to do. They run complementary football on both sides. They kind of matches, and so you can tell what their philosophy is. I think they play hard, and you know, those are probably some of the best things you can say about a head coach and the way his program presents itself. And those are things that we value here, and so we certainly respect them when we see them across the line of scrimmage.
So yeah, nothing too crazy, but you know, as both proteges of the late great football coach Mike Leach, so it could be quite fun seeing a matchup of the same philosophies. But yeah, just some final thoughts though. This game feels impossible, and I understand for those on the outside, 17-point underdogs, and I totally get it. But just again, just the fact that this bye week came, I think it comes at a pretty good time. And hey, you never know. Weekday Conference USA has been quite the quite the show. That's why I was kind of delaying recording this. I'm recording this at 1:46 a.m. on Thursday morning, and I got an interview for y'all that's coming your way actually later that day, and I'll actually save that for later on in the late in the end. So stay tuned if you want to know what's gonna also be released on this this Thursday, because this will be released Thursday morning and all that. So, but yeah, stick around, guys. But now we're gonna step aside and we're gonna preview Louisiana Tech. We're gonna dive deep behind enemy lines, take a look at them real quick, have some PFF stuff to look for y'all to look at, some players I think y'all should watch out for, and also hear from head coach Sonny Cumbie on, you know, he's gonna be talking about his previous games and what he thinks about Sam Houston and all that great stuff. So stick around, guys, here on Sam Houston Sports Talk Pod 72 continues after this small break. Welcome back to Sam Houston Sports Talk Pod 72, everyone. Calling you, getting you ready for Sam Houston versus La Tech on Halloween night. It's gonna be a fun uniform matchup, by the way, guys. I don't know if some of y'all saw this or not, but Sam Houston's gonna be wearing their orange to Louisiana Tech's black that they're debuting for their 100th homecoming. So Halloween night colors, I love it. It's awesome. I'm glad that the teams agree to do that color rush. That's not normally what you have. The away team usually just wears their whites, but I'm glad that they decided to go ahead and do that. So it should be pretty awesome. But speaking of Louisiana Tech, head coach for the Bulldogs, Sonny Cumbie, spoke to the media earlier. I believe it was Wednesday. It could have been Tuesday, whenever it was earlier this week. And this was part of his opening statement about the previous games.
You know, as we transition into this football game, you know, the homecoming game, it's a great opportunity again for us to get back out on the field and play. Our kids have had a great week of prep. We'll go out this afternoon and have our Wednesday practice. You know, I think the kids are extremely excited about the game. There's a lot of things that are excited about within it, but I think most of all, it's a chance to get out and compete again. And I think that our team got back up and we're stronger from the Kennesaw game than what we were the last time we're out. And if you look at it, you know, offense, defense, and special teams, there's really 3 to 5 things that could have gone differently. And if one of those things would have gone differently, the outcome of Western Kentucky most likely would have been different. But at the end of the day, it wasn't.
That was head coach Sonny Cumbie on the previous games. You look at the previous games, looking at their schedule as a whole, real quick. I mean, they took down Southeastern pretty easily, 24-0 to begin the season. Then they went to Tiger Stadium against number 3 at the time, LSU. They lost that game, but it was a pretty strong defensive showing in Death Valley in Tiger Stadium, 23-7 loss. You gotta be feeling pretty good about that if you're a Law Tech supporter. Then they bat off 3 straight wins. New Mexico State at home, 49-14. Southern Miss 30-20 at home. Then he went on the road to El Paso, took down UTEP 30-11, dominating. And then, as you probably heard, they ran into Kennesaw State a couple weeks later, and they get absolutely trounced in Kennesaw, 35-7 loss. And then last week, and I watched this game. It was a great game against Western Kentucky. Unfortunately for the Bulldogs, they did not come out on top, losing in overtime 28-7 to the Hilltoppers, who was starting their backup quarterback after Maverick MacGyver got a late scratch with a shoulder injury. And apparently he's going to be out this week, but that's not here or there. Now they come in, they're on on a Friday night, homecoming. It's Hall of Fame night apparently as well, according to their website. They're debuting black jerseys. It should be a fun night, but there's probably gonna be some pressure here a little bit to win. And I've seen a lot of things, and this is probably just pessimistic fans. You know, every single fan base has that sector of fans that are just pessimistic. Oh, I've seen the Bulldogs lose this kind of game before. Oh, I've seen Cumbie screwed the pooch on this one. I would just ease up a little bit. This is not a Sam Houston team like it was in a couple of years past. And yes, Sam Houston did beat Louisiana Tech 2 years ago in 2023 on the road in Ruston on homecoming day. Or actually, no, I believe it was senior day. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But all I'm saying is that hey, if they want to be pessimistic about it, hey, go right ahead, man. That's just gonna help us. I believe it was homecoming. Oh, for some reason I thought it was senior day. They probably held. According to the website, it was a homecoming day. I think they probably combined homecoming and senior day. That's probably why I'm getting it. But that was a 42-27 victory for the Bearkats in Ruston on November 11th. I was at that game. That was a pretty fun game. Pretty good game for the Bearkats' first FBS win against an FBS opponent. So that was a pretty cool part of that, winning 3 out of 4 games to end that season of 2023. But yeah, maybe there's some pressure on the Bulldogs to win this game, and maybe the Bearcats can take advantage. So we'll see. But speaking of the Bearcats, Cumbie actually had some comments on the Cats, Longo, Watson, and that offense. Let's go ahead and hear what he had to say.
What do we learn from that? How do we get ourselves back up? How do we continue to get stronger and better as a football team against a Sam Houston team that's getting better? I think if you look at their last 3 games against New Mexico State, Jacksonville State, and then also UTEP, the last 3 times they've been out, they're continually getting better. There's a lot of progression that they've seen within their program. Coach Longo has done a nice job. I think offensively they're starting to hit their stride. I think Hunter Watson is the ultimate competitor. I saw the kid in person win a national championship in junior college at Iowa Western. We had the chance to compete against him last year. He's a competitive quarterback, and I think that Coach Longo is really they're getting in sync with one another from the standpoint of his skill set and what he can do. They have some really good running. Coco Brown at running back. Alton McCaskill is a really good, powerful running back. They're big, probably the biggest backs that we've played against in terms of having to be sure tacklers. Their receivers can run. I think really the thing there on offense is they've turned the ball over. And then I think also receiver-wise, it's just been a little bit of inconsistencies just due to the injuries that they've had at the position. And I think offensive line, they've got a consistent group of 5 that they really feel good about and playing with.
Yeah, kind of pretty simple. He kind of outlined some of the problems that the Bearcats have been having all season, but he's not taking Sam Houston pretty lightly. And yeah, it's pretty much it's coach speak, to say the least, to kind of have that talk. But you kind of want your head coach to be like, yeah, we're not taking this team lightly no matter what. They're winless, but that offense is finding their stride, and we talked a little bit about earlier in the first segment how that offense is indeed like probably finding their stride right now. Here was Sonny Cumbie on the Sam Houston defense. Pretty interesting take on it. pretty interesting comments on this one. At least I found. I'm probably just overthinking it.
Defensively, Freddie Autry-Lindsey, their defensive coordinator coming from North Carolina State. Again, you see in the last 3 games, I think they really settle into who they are and what they want to do in terms of negative plays, trying to create takeaways. They've got 2 really good linebackers. The Antavius Fish, I believe is his name, plays really well and is very physical. Their corners, I think, are really good players, and I think they have a safety and a nickel that came with Coach Lindsey from North Carolina State that really impact the game in a positive way. And I think Jacksonville State, really arguably they had that game won at the end. They could get 55-yard field goal to win it. New Mexico State and UTEP, both of those games are really close, really late into the third, early fourth quarter. And then I think turnovers really get Sam Houston State behind the 8 ball in those games. So, it's going to be a great week. Hopefully we'll have a lot of people back in town for this game. Hopefully we'll have a lot of people that show up to support our players who put so much into this program and want to work and perform at the highest level.
Whoops, I didn't mean to cut you off right there, Coach. But yeah, it's pretty simple. Just Cumbie's just giving respect to the defense, and hopefully the defense is finding their strength. Because like Longo alluded to earlier in segment 1, just improve the tackling. I think tackling's the cliche, but I'm hoping now I'm going to be seeing the improvement on the tackling, because the tackling has really hurt this defense quite a lot. And but we'll see. I mean, analytically, it's average, quote unquote. I think it's just the situations that they find that where the poor tackling shows up. That's what really kills that defense pretty badly. But let's go ahead and take a look at the opposing. Let's go ahead and just take a look at the offense real quick for Louisiana Tech. You know what? It's pretty simple offense. Of course, Cumbie has his own kind of deal going with his own version of a little bit of the air raid. I believe that he has a little version of his own air raid going. I'm not too quite sure, but if you're a student of Mike Leach, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that per se. But you got Baker, who's their quarterback. He's interesting because he can throw the football, but with him being, I believe he's like 6 foot or something, 6'6" if I remember correctly. Like this guy's not one that you're going to want to be messing around about. I think they really have to keep an eye on him, because one problem as I am moving my stuff around a little bit just to try to make sure I'm reading all these correctly, but Blake Baker, that's right. I mean, he didn't really have that bad of a game against Western Kentucky. 6'5", that's what he is. 6'5", 220. I mean, he had a fantastic game against Southern Miss. But I mean, 6'5", he can run pretty decently for a guy his size, 220. You're gonna have to keep an eye on him, to say the least. And I think this is where the key is gonna be, though, for this defense when outside the tackling. I think it's gonna be keeping that running game in check. Believe who's their starter? Clay Thevenin. I can't pronounce his name right now, apparently, but Thevenin, 5'10", 202 pounds. He can run the ball decently well. He's graded out quite well on analytically side, at least. But one thing I kind of want, I bet that's one thing that maybe you'll notice is the wide receivers have not been the best, to say the least. But I wouldn't really worry about that too much. I think their wide receivers are just fine. Baker's just got to get the ball there. Their offensive line knows kind of, it's not really what they're hoping it would have been. I mean, analytically wise, but again, this is analytics. Film wise, I mean, they look fine. But if I'm the Bearcat defense, I'm trying to attack that right side, the right tackle over there, because Bannister, their veteran right tackle, is usually there, but he's not going to be playing this week, according to Cumbie, from his press conference on Wednesday. But man, if there's one guy I'm circling about as well when it comes to receiving, I'm looking at Eli Finley, folks. I mean, he played 84 snaps. This guy hardly ever takes a snap off. 6'6", 246. He's a guy I'm going to be looking at to be potentially a dangerous weapon that the Bulldogs can use against this Sam Houston defense. Let's go ahead and take a look at their defense, which, guys, again, they don't have Colby Fields, but this defense is still really, really good. No, without a doubt. And yes, it sucks again that they lost their main guy, their number one guy that they won out there in Fields, but don't let that distract you from the fact of how good they are. I mean, you already see the guy right there, one of their linebackers, Sifa Leota. I believe if how you pronounce his name. Apologies if you're listening. Any lot of Tech fans out there that are listening, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name, but yeah, grades out pretty dang nicely. They also have some good safeties. The front, so this front's average. The corners are pretty good though. There's one thing though that Longo preface when talking about this defense is that they're very well coached. They know the system. They know what they're supposed to do. And really, if you know the system, if you know your assignments, you don't have to be all that. You don't have to be this highly graded on PFF and whatsoever. Again, I just give you this PFF stuff just to give you a better picture of what to expect against for not against for this Louisiana Tech team that is still pretty good, albeit they are not in the position that they want to be. They don't. I'm pretty sure they weren't envisioning losing back-to-back games over the past 2 weeks. And really, this is an interesting spot because I feel like I said earlier, this team could be feeling a lot of pressure to win on Friday night. This homecoming, debuting black jerseys, whatever. But I think this La Tech team is still fine no matter how you put it. That defense is still going to keep on grading out really well. I mean, they had that bad off night against Kennesaw State, but it's just the offense couldn't get going. So really, in all essence, if you can slow down that offense and put that pressure on the defense, which I think is pretty much what they're going to try to do against us, really, I mean, Bearcats team has not great are not ranked highly at all. We're like they're almost like the Bearcats are almost last in every single major category in statistics for college football. So maybe Louisiana Tech may not be feeling that pressure, but still, there probably is still some pressure. But all in all, point is, do not sleep on this Louisiana Tech team. They got some good players. They got some skill makers, playmakers, skill players out there on both sides of the ball, especially on the special team side of thing. I'm sure that special teams hadn't been good for a little bit there, but now it's starting to pick back up. I think that their kicker missed the field goal last week. I could be wrong, but either way, they're looking to shake off these last couple of games, and it's a good opportunity for them on Friday night at home in Ruston, Louisiana. When we come back, I'll give you some keys and my prediction for the matchup on Halloween night. Stay tuned right here on Sam Houston Sports Talk. It continues after this. All right, let's go ahead and wrap Pod 72 up again. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Sam Houston Sports Talk. As always, if you haven't already, be sure you follow us on all of our socials down below. Subscribe to our new Substack. And hoop season is just around the corner. I interviewed head coach Raven Justice of Sam Houston women's basketball. That interview is up to get you ready for women's basketball. And later on today, whenever you're listening on, you might be listening right now on this Thursday that this episode is coming up. But later in the day, head coach Chris Mudge, I got to talk to him to get you ready for men's basketball. That interview comes your way later on. But before we sign off, as always, some keys and predictions. Well, keys really is pretty simple. For the offense, it's going to be winning on that money down, that verse down. I think that's going to be really key because if you win that money down, get that defense on their heels a little bit, I think you'll be just fine. Get Hunter back in the rhythm really as well, I will also say. And, keep on doing that thing a little bit with the 50-50 a little bit, 50-50 pass and run plays. I think that's been working out really well. The numbers don't lie, folks. The numbers don't lie. Defensively, key-wise, show me the improvement on the tackling. I really want to see that. And garner some pressure. Get pressure on Baker and contain that run game. I mean, they're all really cliche. Personally, I think I prefer them to contain that run game to force Baker to throw. Now, I'm not saying that Baker is a bad thrower necessarily, but I think, though, you want to try to control that run game, because if you let them dictate the run game as well, they're going to run all over you when it comes to the passing game. And I know it's kind of an oxymoron, but I think this secondary is slightly getting a bit better. We haven't seen many blown coverages and missed assignments as the season went on. It's just, unfortunately, they happen in bad situation at the worst possible time. So hopefully, I think it'll get slightly better. But I think if you want to get things going, you do what you've been doing best, which is stopping that run game. But you faltered in that against UTEP. Hopefully that gets better, and the tackling needs to get better. But if my prediction, unfortunately, I'm going to go against Sam Houston on this one. I do pick them to cover this 17-point underdogs coming to this one, 16.5 point. I've seen it in other places as well. I see them covering it. I think this could be quite an interesting game, to say the least. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Bulldogs to win this one by a score of 23-16. And I'm going to go ahead and just leave it at that. But actually, in 23, no, I'm going to say 29-16 rather. Sorry. 29-16. I'm going to go ahead and go with that score line. Misspoke there a little bit, man. I messed up quite a lot in this pod, but I hope you enjoy it nonetheless. Once again, thank you all for tuning in for this one. Let's hope that the Bearcats can at least prove me wrong and come out with the victory against the Bulldogs in Ruston, Louisiana, and spoil homecoming night like they did 2 years ago. Like I said, if you haven't already, be sure you like and subscribe. Follow us on all of our social medias today. Links are in the description. And as always, guys, eat 'em up, cats. Have a great rest of your day. And if you are going out trick-or-treating, please stay safe. Make good decisions. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And all that. So, eat 'em up, cats.